Hey, Chad Fullerton here, and I wanted to share this replay segment of a webinar that I did with Justin from toolsformotivation.com. I get a lot of questions about leveraging blog posts with PLR content, and we covered a lot of really great ideas in this webinar, so I'm going to play the webinar for you now, just the middle portion of it where we went over these tactics. So without further ado, hopefully you'll enjoy this and learn something that you can apply to your business. Let's roll the clip. Next, we will go through some basic text edits. So a lot of these are trying to make the content unique to you. So with PLR, as you know, you don't want to just copy and paste things and use them verbatim. You want to try and make the content somewhat unique to you, put your own brand spin on it, put your own voice into it, and make it just have your personality, your character through it, okay? So the way that you can do that, we're going to first go over headline alteration, which is an obvious one, adding or remove text, changing headings, and I'll talk about some SEO tips there, and also adding tags just for SEO purposes as well. So let's go through those. So the first thing is headline. So changing the title of the blog post. This is an easy one just because other people that are buying the same PLR are going to probably use the same headlines. So you want to make your headline a little bit different. So we would probably want to reword this to be slightly different. So let's see, your romantic relationships may fail if you don't trust yourself. Okay, so do you have a new title for us, Justin?
Sure. Go for trusting yourself is important.
Okay.
For developing relationships.
There we go. So we're changing that up. You also want to go in here and add some headings. So you might want to remove a paragraph or two. If you just skim through it. Maybe this paragraph here is, maybe you just don't want this part about your feelings. So we'll just delete that. It's just to change it up a little bit. And then you want to add headings. So headings are key for SEO. So when you're actually going in here and putting a heading in, this is, Google sees this as paragraph text. You want to be able to add a heading in here. So Google will take your headings, which are called H1 or H2 or H3 headings. You'll see them in the drop down here of WordPress. So your heading 1 is typically your title of your blog. So you're going to want to use heading 2 or heading 3 for headings of these paragraphs. And Google will look at these, especially your heading 2s, and see those as the main topic of the page, because Google's trying to figure out what this blog post is about. So we'll put in here something to do with trust yourself, right? It's the first paragraph. So all you do is type in the text, select it, choose your heading 2 from the paragraph drop down, and that will make it look a little bit bolder, a little bit larger, and make it stand out. So you'll want to do this for all the main paragraphs, so that when someone's reading through your blog post, they can skim through it really quickly. And let's see.
Can you have more than one heading 2, Dietrich's asking?
Absolutely, yes. You can have as many as you want. You want to try and keep it to 3 or 4. Don't go overboard with it, because Google sees it as you trying to game Google by having too many headings in there. So try and keep it clean. If you have subsections, so for example, if this one was trust yourself, and there was 3 main bullets or 3 points to the trust yourself topic, then you can also use the H3 or H4 heading. So trust yourself, maybe this is in relationships, and we can make this an H3 or H4. So it's not as big as the trust yourself tag, but it's getting there. So it's sort of a subtopic. So you can make it H3. You can make it an H4. And then this maybe will be, let's see, with your partner. And then we would make this an H4 as well to match up with the other one, so that you can see how visually now this is a hierarchy of here's our main heading, here's our sub point, and then our point that's underneath this sub point. So that's how Google will read your page.
And also beyond just SEO, what I found after doing our training blog for a long time is that you just want the blog post to be aesthetically pleasing too. As important as it is to learn information from whatever it is, how you present it in that post is almost as important, really. If it's a giant, strung together paragraph, people may not make it through. But if it's broken up nicely into little sections like this using the tags and so on, or the headings, I should say, it just makes it easier for your eyes to kind of scan through. A lot of my blog posts have videos embedded. So I'll have a little bit of text leading up to it, broken up with headings, and then a video that expands on what the text said and so on. It just helps people read top to bottom.
Yeah, and you can also, you can use headings as one thing. You can use colors as a different differentiator for the different sections. So you can go ahead and change the colors if you wanted to, just to make them stand out differently. So just cleans it up, makes it look nice for your readers, and they can now skim things much faster. So instead of the big chunk of text. So if I go and update this, let's take a look at what it looks like in our real live site here. So here it is. So you can see we have our heading, we got our H2 tag. This could be a sub point to your, maybe your main conclusion point at the top or summary at the top. And then you have your orange headings here, which stand out and look pretty nice. So right away, you can see this is starting to come together where it just looks a lot cleaner. It looks a lot more organized, and it looks like you've put a lot more thought into the just the different sections of the blog post. Any questions about headings? All right. So next up, we're going to talk about tags. So an important part of SEO as well is your tags. So let me just switch back here to draft mode. All right, so one of the sections on the right-hand side is tags. If you're in the older WordPress, it's just a box that says add a tag. And all you do is you just type in tags that have to do with the content. So maybe you're going down here, especially the biggest tags you want are the ones that are in your headline. So your main topic at the top here. So that would be things like trust, and you just put a comma in between them. And as soon as you type the comma, it's going to turn it into a little tag box here. Okay. So trust, relationships would be the two big keywords in that heading. Maybe you want to use the words like doubt, things like that, partner, things like that. So what this does is when you've posted this, these tags will be clickable to other blog posts that you've written that have the same tags. So you can also put things in here that are the category of what this blog post might be about. Maybe it's building relationships. Now, when we go into some other blog posts for the next things, we'll use this tag called building relationships. And when we go to the blog post, so let me just go back here and I'll refresh my screen. You'll notice when I go to the bottom, here's our tags that we've added to this blog post. So building relationships is clickable. And if I click on this, it's going to show all my blog posts that have that tag. So obviously I only have one, but it would have a listing of all of them. And this comes in handy for Google and SEO as well, because these tags are what Google will also start crawling through and see what other blog posts you have that have those same tags and organize them together in Google's own way of organizing things. So very, very important.
Sharon's saying sometimes just a few small changes make such a difference in the outcome, which is so true. A lot of people, I think too many people mistakenly go, well, I just bought a bunch of PLR, so now I don't have to write anything or do anything. That's why I wanted to do this webinar. It's like, well, you should still make the content your own. You should still spend a bit of time making sure it represents you, your message, your voice, and so on. But it could be as simple as what Chad just showed you here, laying it out a little bit differently, adding and removing a paragraph here and there. Maybe you read through this article and you write your own, one paragraph summary at the bottom. Well, that's a completely unique piece of text. But now the overall body of blog posts there is now totally unique to you and your blog. And that's, if you focus on that, that's probably a 5-minute task. It's not a giant task. But compared to writing a blog post from scratch, you're probably saving like 90% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. So, so right away, this is looking a lot better than it did when we started. So that's nice. So that we've added some tags. We've done some SEO work on our headline and on our links. So that's great. Next, we'll be adding in images. So the first thing we're going to show 2 ways you can do this. The first is manually downloading an image to your computer and then putting it into the featured image and into the blog post itself. And I'll also show you a way that you can just use this to grab copyright-free, royalty-free photos as well, in case you don't have any stock photos. So you want to make sure that you, first of all, are not getting photos from Google Images, because that's going to get you in trouble. So if I go to Google Images and I just type in something like relationships, and I go to images here, the problem is that a lot of these images are actually copyrighted images from news sources, from other blogs where people have paid the right to use the image. So if you copy any of these images and put it on your blog, services like Getty Images do crawling through Google and crawling on the web, and they find blogs that are using their images and don't have a license to them.
We have sites like Unsplash and Pixabay. David's asking about Pixabay, which
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're going to show you the two that we like to use. So Unsplash is one. So if you just type in Unsplash in Google, or you just go to unsplash.com, and what Unsplash is it's a collection of images where photographers have essentially given the image without copyright and said, here's some cool images I took. You can use them for whatever you want, as long as it's following the Unsplash license, which is very broad and very open. So you can use them in your blogs, you can use them in your projects, ebooks, things like
use
that.
it for commercial program.
Yep. So you're able to use them for commercial purposes and not have to attribute the author, which is the biggest part, because it's a pain in the butt if you have to make sure that the authors of these photos are mentioned all over your blogs wherever you use the images, right? So, this
website alone has saved us thousands of dollars, because we used to have to get vector images designed from scratch for every ebook cover we created, because we sell PLR, and we give people the rights to use our e-covers. Well, then the artwork has to literally be drawn from scratch until we found the site, and then we're like, well, no, now we can use this.
Exactly.
So the e-covers come from this. Well, not just this site, but sites similar to this. And I think anybody listening or watching will probably also save thousands over the years, because you're going to need a lot of images, no matter what kind of content you're publishing.
Yep. And so Pixabay is very similar. It's also a collection of images. There's 1.6 million images in here. So you're bound to find something that you can use, right? And these are professional images. These aren't just like clip art or like bad looking photos that people have taken. They've been vetted by the group here. So they are high quality. You can see here. And all you do is just search just like you would in Google Images, except now you know that anything that you find on here, you are allowed to use. And Pixabay also has vector graphics. They have illustrations. So you can see if you're looking for this sort of style, illustrations. So this would be non-photos, like 3D renderings, things like that. And so just go through here, browse through. You can create a free account, and you can start favoriting images that you've come across that you think you might want to use in your blog post. Now, one thing that Justin has done and Ted over at Tools for Motivation is they've created this album collection. So we'll put the link in the chat box so that you guys can check it out.
And that's you. You had it. Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, there's other questions that are not related right now to the topic at hand. So, like Khalil, I saw your question. I'm going to note it, and we'll address it at the end.
Yep, sure, yeah, absolutely. We're going to go to questions at the end, and we'll go through and find all the ones that we missed. So we will hold on to those.
Asking though, because if it's something that Chad's talking about like right now, then we can answer it. But it's something.
Yeah, exactly. So like for example, Joyce mentioned Morgfile. I do like Morgfile. It's another one that you can use. It's a strange name, but it is a cool site. So this is another one where you can search. They're not as large. They only have less than 500,000 photos, but they are. If you can't find the photos in the other ones, then you can check this site out for a different style of photo as well. One of the things I don't really like about Morgfile is that they promote iStock Getty Images in here. So it can get confusing when you're searching, for example, for relationships. And they'll show you some free ones.
Yeah, you just had a typo there. I
I spelled relationships wrong. That's why. I'll just type in love. There we go. So Here you go. So we have some photos from Morgfile, but then what happens is they intermix them with iStock photos, and they have ads for Getty Images all over the place. So it can get confusing which ones are paid and which ones aren't. So make sure that you pay attention to which ones are actually free. Okay, so going back to this album collection. So one of the cool things you can do is you can create a free account with Unsplash, and then you can favorite the ones that you do like and put them into an album, and then share those publicly to your friends or online. So that's what Ted and Justin have done here. So you can see that they've organized some of their favorite photos into categories that you as a Tools for Motivation member would most likely use.
Yeah, this was a huge amount of time for Ted. So definitely bookmark that because he's organized it into like dozens and dozens of self-help categories. It'll save you so much time.
Exactly. So just scroll through this. They have lots of different organized albums here with 100 plus photos in each one. You got inspiring views, health and diet, some reflection, love, which is perfect for what we're about to use it for, and a few others here. So you can go down and scroll through these and see what they've put together here, and or you can make your own album. So let's just go into the love one because this blog post we're on right now is about relationships. So let's see here. So maybe we want to use, let's just use this one here. Okay, so we got this photo of people putting rings on their finger. Very nice. I'm going to save this image directly to my category here on my computer. Okay, so we'll go back to our blog post, which is developing relationships. And we're going to add this as a featured image. So what a featured image is in WordPress, if you don't know, is essentially the main image that's being used for the blog. So this could be depending on the way that your theme or your design of your website is, most likely it's going to be the big image at the top of your blog post. And this is also the photo that is used when people share your blog post on social media. So if I was to share my blog link here on Facebook, Facebook's going to pull the featured image. So even if you have multiple images in your blog, this is the one it's going to take first. Okay. So we want to make sure that this is our best image that has to do with our topic. So I'm going to just take our image that we found on Unsplash, pop it in there. And so once it's uploaded into your media library, here's all the other images that we've uploaded in the past. We're going to select the one that we want and click on select. And now we can see that it is added as a featured image. So you won't see it in the blog itself, but you know that it's the featured image here. So now when I update this blog post, I believe this theme uses it at the top. So let me just see. Yeah. So you can see that the image is now really large at the top here. And there's different themes. This is just the default one, but most likely it'll put it right above your heading here, or might put it right below the heading. So you can have it showing wherever you want, depending on the
theme. Go to Tools Motivation /training blog. Ours looks a little bit more common of what you'd probably see.
Yeah. Now let me just go to the homepage and let's see how it looks on there. Yeah. So here's our homepage of our test site, and you can see that this main image is now below the heading of our blog. So that's how you do the featured image. Now, if I was to share this on Facebook, Facebook would take this image and put your heading here right below the image for a link post on Facebook. So just keep that in mind. You want to have a featured image. So if you want to insert an image into the actual blog post itself, all you do is just click where you want that image to be. For example, if I want one right there, and you click on the button for adding media, which is right here on the new WordPress. There's a button on the old WordPress. I'm still learning this as we go because they just launched this last week. So I'm still figuring where buttons are moved. But on the old WordPress, there's a button that says add media at the top here. They've added it into here. So just click on that. Brings up our library. I'm going to choose this flower that's already in here. And you can choose the size of the image right over here on the right-hand side. So I'm just going to choose small, medium, which is just a smaller size, insert into post. And there you go. So it's inserted it in there with the credit for the author because this is from Pixabay. So there we go. So we have our photo right there. And I'm going to hit update, or I can just I can move this if I want to a different part of the blog. and clean it up a little bit. And there we go. So that's how you put images into the featured image and also into the blog post itself. Any questions about that? Renaming images. Yes, Patty brought this up. This is important. So when we inserted the image, you can add captions, you can add change text. One of the things that you'll notice is that when we saved the image from Unsplash, this ring image here, it didn't really title it anything that explains what the image is. It was just a bunch of numbers and gibberish stuff. So let me just go back. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in this featured image, when I chose this image, you can see that Unsplash has titled it photo dash and a bunch of numbers. So one of the things you can do, Google does like it when you have images on your page that use the same keywords as the title of the blog post, as the tags that we've added and things like that. So we would probably want to change this. And it's really simple. You just delete what's in there and you can just change it to say relationships and trust or something. Try not to use spaces, put dashes if you can, and just use keywords that have to do with that blog post topic. The alt text is also important for people who, for people who are using computers, maybe they can't see properly, they're blind, or they have devices that will actually read out for them your blog post. It will also read out the alt text of what that image is. So you would type in something like photo of two of man and woman exchanging rings or something. I'm not really sure, but whatever that is, you just type it in there. And as we click through these, you'll see there was a little loading icon that appeared here for a split second. That just means it's saving as you go. So you don't have to click a save button or anything. And then once you're done, we'll click select again. And now this will update to have the proper keywords that we've chosen for that image. So that's just for another SEO tip. Thanks for bringing that up, Patty. That's a great tip. Absolutely. So that's for photos. Let's see if I covered everything off there yep. So now we're going to show how to, so then we've shown how to manually add them using Unsplash. I'll show you another plugin you can use. That's the Pixabay plugin. So let me just show you that. I don't believe Unsplash has a plugin, but Pixabay definitely does. So you're going to go to add new. So plugins, add new. And this is to install plugins in WordPress. There's thousands of free plugins you can install. So this is a library of all those plugins, and you can just search up here for any kind of plugin that you're looking for. So this is an add-on to WordPress, and there are features that are built in. So I'm just going to type in Pixabay. So it's going to search WordPress for all the different plugins that have the word Pixabay in them. And you'll see this one here called Pixabay Images. It's been installed on 40,000 different WordPress sites. And this one, for example, has only been installed on 1,000 WordPress sites. So you usually want to go with plugins that have been installed on a lot more websites, which just gives them more credibility, and go with the ones that people trust more, because anyone could upload plugins into the WordPress library. So go with the ones that have high ratings and have been installed on lots of sites. You know that those ones are probably the better. Click on activate, and that turns it on essentially. So now we can see in our list of plugins, we have Pixabay Images plugin, which is turned on. It's blue, which means it's turned on. And if you want to turn it off, all you do is click on deactivate and it'll turn it off. So what this plugin does is it adds an option when we are in our blog post. Let me go to a different blog post just to show you. We'll go to this one, Hand in Hand for Confidence and Trust. Okay, so now when we go into our media library to insert images into our blog, instead of uploading something like we did previously, on the left-hand side, there's now an option called Pixabay Images. If I click on that, I can now do a search and search Pixabay, which is this website here. Instead of going here and typing a search in here and downloading an image, I can actually do it from within my WordPress site without having to leave my site. So I'm going to type in love, for example. And here's all these images coming in from Pixabay that I can choose. So I'm just going to pick this one here, for example. And all you do is click on the image, and it's going to give you some options. So it's downloaded the image into my library now, so I can start using it. I can insert it into the post wherever my cursor was when I click the button. And I can choose my size that I want. And I can also choose use as featured image, which is the link right here. So if I click on that, now what will happen when I get out of the screen and just save the changes, you'll notice that the featured image, oh, sorry, I must not have saved that properly. Let me choose a different one here. Pixabay images. Let's use this funky one here. Okay. So now we have love, and it will insert it into as a featured image here for us. So you can continue to add different images to your library. So now if I go back to my library, you'll see that I have all these different images from that I've uploaded. So there's the one I uploaded there, Relationships and Trust. Remember, we renamed it. And we have this one, these two called Love. I would probably go in and rename those as well. You know, maybe can make it Love, Trust, Relationships, something like that, just to help somebody. I can't spell relationships today. Just to add your keywords in there, right? Because it always helps. So we can insert this right into the post if you want, and it automatically adds the credit for the author. We can insert it as a featured image. We can do all different things with those images, which is great. So that's Pixabay. So really simple. If it needs crediting, it adds the credit for you, which is great. And you can also find a lot of things on Pixabay, including illustrations and icons, things like that. If you're looking for something to add icons to your site or bullet points and want to make them cool looking, you can find Pixabay graphics that way. So that's one way to do it. The other way is using Unsplash. Now there are a lot of different websites you can use for photos. A lot of sites have certain themes that they're really good at having. So maybe this one has really good photos of people and maybe of mountains and things like that. If you're looking for, if what you're looking for is very specific, maybe you're in a certain niche, a health niche where you need photos of people doing certain things. Like maybe you need somebody mountain biking for a health blog, or someone running or jogging, and you can't find good photos on Unsplash. You can go to a website called allthefreestock.com. So allthefreestock.com is a site that I like to use just to see a bunch of different options for free stock photos. If I click on free stock photos on the left-hand side here, this is a listing of every site where you can find copyright-free photos. All right. So you'll see Unsplash and a bunch of the other ones that we've listed here already here in the list. But you can click on them and then it'll load the sites up for you. All right. So check out any of these sites. Some of them are for specific niches. So you might find one that that has a lot of photos that are for your topic that you're looking for. And
quick question from Patty. She's wondering about Pixabay images. Are they added to your hosting? I think if we were to look at the source of the graphic blog post, it would be on the blog.
Yeah. So what happens is, as soon as we went and we chose a photo, so when we were in here, let me just insert one in here. So everything in your media library that shows up here are downloaded to your site. So if I go in here and I type in love again, as soon as I'm clicking on this image here of this flower, it's downloading it to my hosting. Okay. So that's downloading from that site to my hosted site. So
makes sense.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. So going back to this site, oh, sorry, where was I? I must have closed.
Oh, you're doing all the free stock.
Yeah. So all the free stock is great if you're just looking for different photos. Now, what that means is Creative Commons 0 is the type of license that you're looking for. Creative Commons 0 is essentially So Creative Commons Zero is the license that you want. It has the CC with a little zero with a slash through it. What this means is that there's actually no copyright attributed to the photo. So that means you can use it for anything. The person who took the photo is essentially giving up all their rights to do anything with that photo, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can use it for commercial purposes, for your blog. You could include it in a package. There's essentially nothing connected to those photos. And when you're on that, all the free stock site, a lot of those sites they use this license. I'm going to throw it over to Justin now, and he's going to talk about audio and video.
So now we're going on to number 6 here. Chad did a huge kind of deep dive into numbers 4 and 5. That alone would be enough to probably make use of all that PLR that you got. And then the next few here would help you take it that much further. So audio-based blog posts. One of the the only upsell on this particular offer that you bought included the audio. So for those of you that got it, you could actually swap out some of the blog posts and remove the text and then pop in the audio if you want. We'll actually quickly show you how to do that using SoundCloud. But the idea with audio-based blog posts is to mix it up, right? It's another way for you to take PLR content and add your own spin to it. So I always recommend to people to get your voice, if you are, especially if you're doing personal branding, get your voice in front of your audience as often as you can, even if you are using PLR, right? If you had a PLR audio file that narrates an article, you could easily record an intro and outro to it in your voice and simply say something like, hey, this is Justin Popovich from Tools for Motivation. In the next few minutes, I want to share some of my best confidence tips. And then you kind of slide over to PLR, whoever recorded it. It doesn't have to be in your voice. So it'd almost be like a podcaster introducing somebody. And that would be an easy way to make that PLR unique. But it's also a great way of mixing it up so that your blog posts can change. So Chad, if you load up the WordPress site.
Sure.
And we'll just go like maybe just pick another blog post, several clicks down from the one you were working on.
Sure. Routine. We'll talk about routine.
Yeah, that's good. So for a blog post like this, in my opinion, one really easy way, it also is a great way to sharpen your skills, to change this to make it completely unique to you, in addition to changing the headline. We're going to assume you do that. But imagine taking, I'm going to say, a maximum of 10 minutes and probably less once you get good at this. So 10 minutes or so to literally just record yourself narrating this. Now, if you have Audacity on the PC, you could do that for free. On the Mac, there's GarageBand, and you literally just read through this as is, right? But now that's a piece of audio content that is completely unique. Even if somebody else were to narrate this verbatim, it's still a unique piece of content. And from an SEO perspective, it's totally unique. And that's a no-brainer way to make it yours. But then what you could do is take the additional text. So you could blog an embedded SoundCloud window, which we're going to show you here in a second. And then right below that, you can say something like, would you like to hear a transcript, or would you like to download a transcript of this short audio presentation? You have a little button there or a text link. And then what you do is copy and paste the text from this article into a Word doc and save it as a PDF. And obviously in there, you want to do your branding, right? You want to have some links out to your website or to your landing page or to a product you're promoting right now. It could be timely based on some kind of upcoming event. And David's saying Audacity is available on the Mac too. Yeah, absolutely. I was going to demo that as well. I use GarageBand because I like it. So I'm going to quickly, Chad, I'm going to pop it in here. Because if you don't mind doing it, because then you can embed it.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so here is I have a couple of SoundCloud channels here, but I'm going to pop in the one for Tools for Motivation. I also have a Justin Popovich one. So that's the link to SoundCloud. I'm going to open it up here. And maybe just Chad, if you go there, grab any one of those and click on the share link. So for anybody listening and watching, if you don't have an account on SoundCloud, I highly recommend you sign up and create an account right away. Think of this as the YouTube for audio. It's a great way of sharing audio-based content, but it's also a great way of distributing that content to your audience when you can embed these recordings on your blog, right? So that's a key thing here. But over and above that, you're building up a channel. Each one of the audio files that you upload to SoundCloud serves as a link back to your website. If you actually open any one of those, Chad, I'm not sure if Ted does it for all of these. I definitely do it for my other files. But in the description of your audio file, you can link to any website that you want. So it's a great linking strategy for promoting your blog or your website or your paid site or whatever. So yeah, Ted did do it in that one. So
yeah, so you can put a description. It's very similar to WordPress where you're putting tags in here. They have the little hashtag sign, but same thing, tagging, really important. And the more that your website is linked to from different social media sites, then it helps your SEO with Google. So, yeah, the more you can get a link into a YouTube video description or a SoundCloud post description, the better.
Absolutely. And it's another link in and of itself, a strong link. So if somebody happens to be searching for mood boosting audio, maybe Tools for Motivation doesn't index in Google all that well, but SoundCloud will. And they'll find our SoundCloud entry. And then if they like it, they'll go, who are these guys? And they'll click on that little link and then they go to our website. So in a roundabout way, it's going to market us anyways. So there's a lot of good things happening here. So let's rewind. So Chad, if you can go back to the WordPress site.
Going back to SoundCloud, when you first click on share, this link here is a link to this actual piece of audio here. You can actually just copy this URL or the URL of the actual audio here and use that now. So when you go into your blog post, say that I want my SoundCloud to appear right here, I just paste in the link and then it just puts it in there perfectly for you.
Yeah, so even more user-friendly. Okay, so that was the first two steps, changing the headline and then narrating it into an audio file that you then upload to SoundCloud and put into your blog. Now, you want to make this completely unique. What I would do is, if you move, actually, you could leave it the way it is, Chad. So let's actually read this. So it says, you'll hear people refer to routine as being dull or boring. It implies that life is the same from one day to the next, blah, blah, blah. And then I would add a little piece of text right before that saying, listen below for my latest tips on why routine is actually good for you. And then I would remove all of the other text below that. Yeah, latest tips on this or whatever.
Yeah, and we can bold this or use our headings again. I'll just bold it for now. And then you would remove this, right, Justin?
I would leave the top piece of text so that it kind of acts as an intro to the audio.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, all of the stuff below it, we're going to remove.
Mm-hmm. So you would read this into your audio software.
So the full blog post itself is in audio format, but the text will no longer be in the blog post. But below the audio, we're going to include a little link that says, for a full transcription of this audio, click here. Now we're repurposing PLR blog post or article content into something almost that you could call like a viral document. Now you could add an opt-in here. You could say, sign up for my list to get a transcript. I would recommend just letting them download it because you can do something a little bit more powerful for list building. That wouldn't be enough. To me, yeah, I'd say you can give something more powerful away for list building, but just give this as a freebie to make people like you. And it would pop open a little PDF that they can download, but the PDF serves more purposes, right? It's going to brand, you can have your nice graphic design in there. You can have your logos. You can have links to other programs that you're promoting. Who knows? But it's a different way of packaging up a very simple piece of content, but presenting it in a way that will increase the perceived value. And it allows you to mix it up. So maybe some of these things are just, plain text blog posts, but others are like this, where it's like something quite a bit unique compared to your competitors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a great idea because if you're just reading the text, then you already have the transcription done. You don't have to pay to have that done, which is great.
Yeah, and so I'm just reading some of the comments here. Thanks, everybody. This looks like Dietrich saying, with this strategy, you don't really have to customize the entire blog. Yeah, exactly. You can have bits and pieces here and there. The image example Chad gave, the audio one. There is so much more. I'm still exploring, really, but I feel like there's a lot more that can be done with content marketing and audio. It's just, I think we're just scratching the surface of what can be done here. But especially if anybody listening is an expert or a coach, somebody that does personal branding, and your clients are looking to hear from you and your expertise, then do this as often as you can, because you want your voice being the one in their headphones or playing on their computer screens.
Another thing that you can do once you have a collection of audio on SoundCloud is you can turn that SoundCloud account, that playlist, into a iTunes podcast. So if you've always wanted to have an iTunes podcast, you can actually have it load from your SoundCloud account, and then SoundCloud will actually host the files, and you can convert it into a podcast. There's a bunch of tutorials online. I'll see if I can find one to send out as well.
Yeah, and so just reading a couple of the comments here. So Karen saying this is so cool and will save so much time rescripting text to be unique. Sharon saying this training is worth the money, but the post file makes it twice as valuable. Steve has a good question. Can you use text to audio software? I guess the answer is yes. I would have to learn a little bit more about your situation, Steve, but I would strongly encourage anybody, if you can, to record it in your own voice, unless you have a company that's not personally branded and you want to have more of like a generic speaker, and you can find software that narrates it cleanly and it sounds good, then that would be fine as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if you are listening and you are coming at this from the world of that personally branded specialist, do it in your own voice. And to me, I love, like, I have the ability to outsource pretty much everything in my business now, the way we've been able to kind of expand our business, and it's done well for us. But you'll notice if you're on my mailing list, like I did a bonus a week ago, or maybe a little bit more, where part of the bonus was a narrated version of one of the ebooks from one of our affiliates or our partners. And it was me that narrated. And I do that on purpose, not because I don't have people that can do it for me, but because I like to practice, keeping my skills sharp, from being able to narrate or speak or whatever. These are content marketing and content publishing skills that you never really want to let fade. It can only help you to get good at this stuff. So.
And one of the things that Joyce was mentioning in the comment is the ability to add your own stories into the audio. And if you're telling a story through a blog post, it's definitely not the same as telling it verbally through an audio recording. If you're telling it, you can add a lot more emotion to your story, and it just comes across as way more credible and just connects with the audience better.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think we've given enough steps there for people to try this. Obviously, you know how to get a hold of us if there's questions. So, but give that one a shot and send us your blog posts. I'd love to hear your audio. Happy to give any feedback as well. I'm always open to feedback. So when you hear my stuff, let me know if it stinks and I'll fix it. I think
it's real, Justin. It's real. You get it. If it's not perfect, then it comes across as more credible because it's real, right?
It's true. I look back at some of my YouTube videos from like 9 years ago, and it's like almost horrifying. But I was like, should I take that down? Nah, I'm just going to leave it. You know what? I'm just leaving it. It was honest. It was my best work at that time. You should see. I should take a screenshot or a picture with my iPhone of my giant line of sparkling waters and water bottles here. I've been chugging it. The water as we went through this. Deidre's like, I love your audio, Justin. Just wish you were female. Yeah, I could maybe add a little filter there with GarageBand, make my voice a little higher.
Bring the tone up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, let's move on to if you pull up the
moving on to video.
Yeah. So, all right, this is the one where we're gonna have to share my screen. So, staring at my screen right now, you'll see an app called ScreenFlow. And if you're on a Mac, and you don't own this, then I highly recommend that after this webinar, you go and buy it. Or you could go and get Camtasia. And are there any other ones you can think of, Chad?
ScreenFlow and Camtasia are the biggest two, paid ones.
Yeah. And what these are software apps that allow you to record basically what you're doing on a webinar. You share your screen. You can record your voice. You can record yourself doing a demo, like clicking and pointing around apps and so on. There are free ways of doing this, and there are scaled back ways of doing it. But I told Chad before I started this webinar, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to really strongly recommend and almost push you to invest in one of those two, either ScreenFlow or Camtasia. And then over and above that, invest in some time into learning how to use them, because they're so unbelievably powerful. And I think back to 2009, one of my mentors at the time, this is before we were doing PLR, he convinced me to take my last bit of money and buy a MacBook. I was a PC guy for years up until that point, but he was an online marketer, and he said, just trust me, if you get a Mac, you'll be able to get a lot more done. So I took his word for it, and I did it. And then the first thing I did is I sat down, I forced myself to learn Keynote, which is basically like PowerPoint. But it was complex. I learned all of the features of Keynote over the course of 3, 4, 5 days, and then ScreenFlow as well. And that little training session, a week or two at max, has translated to literally hundreds of thousands, if not more, dollars in sales because of those skills that I've been able to use over and over and over again. So if you want to really become good at content marketing and do it in a professional, long-lasting way that's going to actually build a brand and allow you to build up a huge amount of content that become an asset for you, can help you make money, don't look for the free shortcut tools that are going to save you time. Invest the time to get good at this stuff, and now you're going to be way ahead of the rest of your competitors. So having said all of that, I can give you this demo now. What we're going to do is I'm going to take an article like so. Can you see this, Chad?
Yep.
Okay. So this is one of the articles. It was in that list of blog posts that Chad had as well. How are your to-do lists working for you? So it's all about to-do lists, why they work, what to keep in mind when you're writing them, because some people get so fixated on the to-do list, they forget the bigger picture and so on. And what we're going to do is, just like we are very similarly to what we did with SoundCloud, and we altered the blog post to be an audio-based piece of content, we're going to take this blog post and make it a video-based piece of content. So how do we do that? We take this article and we translate it into a very simple slide deck, and then we narrate the article, and then we blend the two things together using ScreenFlow or Camtasia. I don't know if there are questions coming in, Chad. I'll kind of let you keep an eye and then let me know.
Yep.
So here's what I did. Oh, I think I already have it open, actually. I took that article and I literally grabbed a PowerPoint template that comes with the Microsoft Suite, and I kind of reworded the headline a little bit, and then I took that article and I grabbed the first sentence or maybe two from each paragraph or each kind of section that made sense to me, right? It had a point to make, it had a specific lesson. So you can see the result of it here. It was a total of 6 slides, 8 in total, like with a title. So the first slide looked like this, and so on. Very, very basic slides. Anybody can do this. You copy and paste the first sentence or two from each paragraph of an article into a slide deck. If you can't do that, learn. It's very easy. Okay. Then PowerPoint has the ability to save your slides as pictures. So I did that, and I saved them as JPEG files, and you can see them right here. If I go into this mode here, they're just little images now that are literally a copy and paste of the slides. So what I'm going to do is, in ScreenFlow, you have the ability to create videos. Now you can hit the record button in here, and it literally just starts recording your screen, or you can start piecing media together, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add in all of these slides that I created into my ScreenFlow project. And if you've used something like Windows Movie Maker before, you kind of understand the concept of video production. This bottom section here allows you to see what your video is going to look like. There's timestamps. You can adjust all different types of settings here. So I have the slides. And then the second step, like I mentioned earlier, was to take that article and narrate it into audio, right? So I would start Audacity, or I would start GarageBand, or I would pull up my iPhone and speak into the bottom of it and save it as an MP3, whatever. I now have based on the length of this article, I'm going to guess around 2.5 to 3 minute piece of audio. Now, if you happen to buy the upgrade for this offer, we already recorded it for you. So I just took that one to save some time here. And I'm going to move the audio, that went in. I'm going to take the audio narration of the same article, and it's also part of my ScreenFlow project. I don't know how Camtasia looks. I don't know, Chad, if you've used it, or if anybody wants to comment. I believe it works very similar to this, where you have a project section, and you have these different content assets you can work with here. The very first thing I would do is double click this audio file, and it becomes part of my video. Okay, and if I were to hit play,
how are your to-do lists working for you?
Okay, I can actually listen to it while I start working on building this video. So the first section there is what, 5 seconds long? I can pop in that first slide and time it. So you can drag this slide to appear on the screen and in your video as long or as short as you like. So if I actually listen to this again, let me turn up my volume here. So hopefully it comes through the
Yep, we can hear it.
Okay, so here we go.
How are your to-do lists working for you?
So right there is a logical place to end that and bring in the next slide, right? So then I would leave this little spacer here, or this like timed, I don't know what you would call that. It's where we're at in the presentation. And then I would double click this next slide to bring it down. And you can see the way the transition would work here if I play it.
Many people love to use to-do lists. Something is satisfying about checking off an item when completed.
So you can see the screen went black because I don't have that particular slide stretched out as long as I need it to go. Now, the third slide gets into...
It can also be used.
The third slide is this guy here. If you're someone who creates a to-do list without considering your long-term goals, that would be, I think, this section of the audio.
But are you doing...
Right here.
If you are someone who creates a to-do list...
Yeah, so that's where... So just by looking at this, I know that's where the next slide will begin. You have to kind of play with it. I'm kind of showing you a live view of how I do this. I've never really taught it before. And that's where I know where to bring this next slide in. So I can usually look at, if you look at the audio segment here, you can see where the breaks are. So that's a pause, that's a pause. So there's a good chance that would be where my next slide would need to go. And slide 4 starts with to-do lists are a good idea.
To-do lists are a good idea.
Yeah, see, I guessed it. Bam. I've done enough of these. So you do that. I'm not going to keep going here, but now you can see how quickly a video can come together. It's a very simple video, but it's something in MP4 format that can be uploaded to YouTube. You could even get more basic than this and literally have a single slide that shows on the screen for the entire length of the audio if you don't want to do all of this work that I'm showing you right now. But something like this would honestly take me about 10 minutes now that I've practiced with it, right? So let's go back and I'll just play the first, 15 or seconds or so.
How are your to-do lists working for you? Many people love to use to-do lists. Something is satisfying about checking off an item when completed. It can also be used as a reference when a boss wants to know employees' progress. But are you doing the right tasks to satisfy your longer-term goals? If you are someone who...
Yeah, so you can see it, and then you can get more fancy. You can add transitions, and there's all kinds of stuff you can learn there. I think it's simple as exporting it. Sorry, go ahead, Chad.
One thing that Dietrich just brought up was that you could also add photos to switch things up, and you could have grabbed any photo from your Unsplash collection, and you could throw it in too.
Absolutely, you can throw the photos directly in here into your project archive, or I guess your assets list, or when you're building the slide deck, pop the photos right in there, just like Chad was doing with the blog posts, or both. It's really entirely up to you. One thing I'll quickly mention here is I didn't check the slide settings. I just went with the defaults. So you want to make sure that your slides are in an acceptable, what's the word I'm looking, dimensions for YouTube, which is, I think, is a 16:9 type of stuff.
The widescreen.
Yeah, the widescreen. So the one I'm using right now, I think, is not that. So it might look a little funny with some black bars on the side when I upload it to YouTube. So just keep that in mind. You might have to play around with it a little bit. But if you're doing a video like this, you can probably build like 5 or 6 of these as a practice just to test it out. So then it's just a matter of exporting that as an MP4 and uploading it to YouTube, which is, I'm not going to go into that because I think most people by now have at least tried YouTube. If you don't have a YouTube account, create one. You can upload videos. And then if you want, you can go to our YouTube channel here and look around the way we do it. So we've got all these different videos that we publish. Go ahead and use those or look at those as an example. Once it's uploaded, then all the information is there, right? You can share it. This was a private one, but, oh no, that was public. You grab the embed code just like you did with SoundCloud. This one, you can't do it the same way with YouTube, can you, Chad?
What were you showing?
And
Copying. Yep, you can copy your that watch link right at the top there.
Yeah.
You just copy that, and we can pop it into any blog post, and it'll pop it right into your blog post
as well. Yeah. Okay.
Just like SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can actually show it. Let me go back to my screen. I'll show how to do it really fast. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe Chad, before I go flip over, maybe just grab a YouTube video, anyone that you like to insert as an example. Mm-hmm. But that's the idea here, is that you now have a blog post, but it's totally unique because it's maybe narrated in your voice, or if you use PLR, at least it's in a voice. And instead of a text-based blog post, now it's a video-based enhancement. You can still add the whole click here to download a transcript. You can have fun with it. But it's a very easy way of creating, in my opinion, good value video content. I've watched and listened to more than I can count audiobooks that have been freely published to YouTube. And in some cases, it's like an hour or more long, and it's literally just a single slide the whole time. I don't care. I'm listening for the audio, but it's being published and distributed on a popular platform like YouTube. So it comes in very handy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess, should we go back and switch to your screen to show that?
Sure, yeah. Let me just pop this up here. All right, so let me just show that really quickly while we have this open. So I'm going to go to a YouTube video here. There's a wicked video of Justin with a nice white background.
Yeah, that's from 2013, I think.
So all you have to do is just copy the link to the YouTube video, and we're going to go back to our blog post, and I'm going to pop it into a new one here. So let's just find a new one. Let's pick project into the future with an old video of Justin. Let's pick. So all you have to do is, say we want the video to go right here, right where I'm typing. So all you do is paste the YouTube URL, and WordPress turns it into a video embed. It's that simple. And then now when I publish this and we go to our blog post, we will see our video. There we go. Ready to go.
Yeah, it's slower on our. Oh, there we go. You see it now. Yeah, and just be aware, YouTube has recently changed. So when the video ends, it shows all these related videos. You used to be able to shut that off, and now you can't. Mm-hmm. It works okay because it's our videos, but it doesn't always work that way for everybody.
Yeah.
Just a quick side note here as well. This whole process of taking simple PLR and turning it into video, that's I'd say like a level 1 way of doing it. You want to kind of focus on getting better at this in the future. And really, if I can suggest one platform to build out, it would be YouTube. Mm-hmm. I don't know, we've got maybe 13 or 1400 subscribers, and we get a lot of traffic from our YouTube channel back to Tools for Motivation. I've talked to at least 10 different people that are in our monthly membership, paying $97 a month, and they found us through YouTube. Mm-hmm. So it's free advertising, and all you have to do is just showcase a little bit of what you do. Now, you'll get better at it. I've done these thousands of times, so you have to put your time in, but why not? Like, give it a shot. There's not really much more important stuff you can do than creating branding-based video content where you showcase your skills. And even if you're not great at it yet, practice. I left my old videos up that weren't great, and it's still working for us.
Yeah, YouTube definitely is the one to focus on. It is if you're talking about SEO, it's the second largest search engine besides Google. So, active users, you're talking over 1 billion active users each month on YouTube. So definitely the place to get an audience if you don't have one, and just make sure you're using those really good keywords in your video titles, and people will stumble upon your videos just by searching.
Yeah, I noticed Patty was saying you make this look so easy. And the only reason it may even look that way is just that it's just repetition. It's literally seat time, having done this for years and years and years. But I can probably put together a whole nother session like this just on strategies for creating video. So if you're listening to this now live, or if you're watching the recording and that's something you want to get into, hit our contact link or the help desk
Mm-hmm.
and let me know, because if there's enough people that want it, I'll build it sooner than later. I do see more and more people asking about videos, so I think at some point it's going to be required to do that. Yeah, for sure, Patty. I'll let you know. Okay, so I think we can move to the last couple, because this is already 16 minutes over the 1 hour mark.
We're getting along here, but that's okay. This is all value stuff. So, so last things we want to show are editorial calendar, and we'll just talk about our bonus really quick. So editorial calendar, let me, first we want to be scheduling a few of these posts. So the whole point of this package was that you could schedule these blog posts throughout the whole year. You have one for each week of the year of 2019. You can schedule them twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever you want within the 52. So how you do that is we're going to go into one of these here, and you're going to want to schedule it. So by default, WordPress, as soon as you click on this publish button, is going to put the blog post live on your website so people can read it. But we don't want that, because we don't want 52 blog posts all at once. So to stagger them, we're going to click on immediately here where it says publish, and we're going to choose a different date for it to go out. So let's just choose every Wednesday, for example. So for the rest of December, I'm going to have it go out, say the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. So the 13th for this post, I'm going to click on schedule, and I'm going to go back to my blog listing and choose a different one. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to click on immediately, choose the 20th for this one, for example. You can choose a certain time and things. I'm just for the sake of time, I'm not going to at the moment. And I'm going to.
That's a great feature.
Yeah, I'm going to do it for one more just to show how it works. So I'm going to choose the 27th for this one, hit schedule. Okay, so what we're going to do now that we have 3 blog posts scheduled, we're going to go to plugins and go to add new. And we're going to type the word editorial calendar in our search box up here. So editorial calendar. And that's going to bring up this plugin here, which has been installed on 40,000 plus sites. So it's 5-star rating, good to go. And it was updated recently, so we know that it's a good plugin. So we're going to click on install. We're going to click on activate once it's done installing. And what this plugin does is it adds a new menu item under the posts menu. So when you go to posts on the left-hand side, you'll see there's now a 5th item called calendar. So when I click on calendar, you're going to see a calendar of your blog posts that are scheduled. So here's the 3 that we scheduled for December 13th, 20th, and 27th. It shows the title of the blog post. I can click it and edit it really quickly. But the best part of this plugin is on the right-hand side, there's a drafts view. So here's a listing of all 52 of our draft posts. All right. So you're able to drag these and drop these into different parts of the month if you want to start scheduling them from this view. So I could just drag this in here and put it to go on Friday the 22nd, and I can choose when I want to schedule it. So I would choose scheduled and pick a date and time to schedule it. Or so this is already the date. I would pick the time, and now it's scheduled to go out on the 22nd. These posts, if I want to move them, you can drag and drop them. And what this plugin will do is change the scheduled date to the date that you drop it on. So if I don't want it on Wednesday, I want it to go Tuesday, I decided to go early, I can just let it go. You would see there's a little loading icon here that just showed for a second, and it updated this post to now go out on the Tuesday at the same time that we chose. All right. So once you start, you can also, at the top here under screen options in the top right corner, if I click on that, it opens up some options for this plugin. And I can choose how many weeks I want to show on my screen. So by default, it's, I think 4 or 5. I can choose 8. And now it'll actually show me 8 different weeks. So you can really start to pull back and see a good bird's eye view of where your posts are going throughout the different 8 weeks coming into the future. And you can start seeing what your topics are, when they're going out, and you can start planning out your email newsletters and things based on when these topics are going to be posted. So a great way to organize your content and to start seeing your schedule for posting in a bird's eye view.